Hello, hello, welcome. All right, gonna meet everyone to start. Thank you for being here. Happy solstice, everybody. Good to be with you. Appreciate you showing up to this opportunity to meet up and connect and check in. Integration from having done a workshop together in person. We just wanted to kind of create an opportunity to reflect on what we experienced before, during, after. Yeah, just really thankful for everybody in this community that's was sending love and intention, that wanted to be here. We picked up on a lot of nonlinear support, and we've heard from others that they experienced some, you know, connection to the work that we were doing over the weekend as well. And yeah, I just really appreciate how this all kind of is nonlinear, and we can all connect to this work together. And so that's what we're doing today, is just reflection, integration. A lot of new people have come in to like my channel, and so some opportunity here for any questions about what we do or what Rachel does or what I do separately. And we'll be discussing that today as well. Just what our courses, are about. And but we'd love to hear from you, obviously, the most. That's the reason we do this, is if anybody has questions about this work, or those of you that were at the workshop or felt or were impacted by the work that we're doing. So we'll be, this is very intuitive. So you can raise your hand at any point, ask any questions you feel called to, or share anything that you're going through during this seasonal shift, this powerful day of tapping into the darkness of things, the mystery, the magic of this time of year. Just reflecting, Rachel and I have been reflecting on all the childhood feelings around Christmas time, just how much magic as a child is accessible during that time, with all the beautiful lights and feelings and presents and fairy tales. Maybe you had some, as a little kid, maybe you had imaginary friends. And so just, using times of year or patterns to remind yourself of how you interacted as a child during winter, snow, grandparents. Maybe you used to go to your grandparents' house and you remember it really vividly. This can be really helpful for recapitulating any memories that are strong from your childhood. Really creates the opportunity to go back and really revisit feelings and re-engage with maybe a longing or melancholy or sadness or joy. It's all possibly helpful to review. Yeah, so it's been powerful for us to go through what we just went through. Triggering, challenging, life-changing, magical, very expansive across the board. And then how that affects our kids, how that affects our home. So this work isn't about like a career at all. It's about, holding space for something really of service that gives and gives and gives and creates really unique training. So I've never planned on doing any of this, but now I understand a lot of what my teachers were explaining, that when you're inside of this kind of process of being of service in this way, then really incredible things become accessible. You learn things really quickly in order to hold space for others to learn similar things. And so I've been experiencing some really dynamic dreaming experiences. So whenever I do this work or hold these courses online, or especially in person, my dreaming experiences exponentially shift. I'm able to do things in my dreams that I couldn't before. I just keep getting trophies, little gifts of attention and awareness, and then I'm just passing that baton by offering this, just like my teachers offered these kinds of things. I'm doing something similar. um, and I imagine a lot of you will as well, or already do in your own way. And so we just want to honor that connection, how things are connected, and that forces there are very real forces that are supportive of this kind of work. And when you're in alignment with that support, it can feel really overwhelmingly beautiful, can be very emotional. So I've always said joy can take you out just as much as sadness. You got learning how to handle really profound feelings moving through you without getting spun out or overreacting, because the roller coaster is intense. And we don't want to pretend that we're not inside of that. We go through our shadow stuff surfaces, especially for Rachel and I. The more closer we get, the more vulnerable it is, the more potential, the more our wounds become present beyond what we could have seen prior. So it's very humbling in that respect. And I think a lot of people try to skip the shadow work in the Toltec world and get to the goal. And that's kind of what I'm trying to offer or suggest, is that we slow it down, understand the power of what's available with dreaming arts, and then just, listen rather than manifest. And yeah, so if anyone feels called to share, or if Rachel, if you want to share about anything, or we can always start with you could drop in with a meditation if that's what people feel called to do. Rachel's really good at dropping us. So um, yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Douglas, did you want to share?
Yeah, I would like to. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having this, for sure. So I'm kind of on a program, watching my diet, etc. for the last 5 or 6 months. We had a potluck at this work I do part-time. And so it was amazing how how enjoyable it was, but how off the wall it was as
Yeah.
well. And I'm observing myself as I'll have a second helping of things that it was interesting to see how, and also doing some substitute teaching, and working with kindergartners in first, second, third grade, and just taking me back to the childhood. And so this is it's a very rich time, a very powerful time, right? Anyway, I'm happy to be here, and nice to meet y'all. Yeah.
Thanks for introducing yourself, Douglas. Good to meet you. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. I'm in a similar position, and yeah, it's intense to restrict what you eat and then suddenly get to feast on all the flavors and go back into that. It's quite amazing, the food world, and how our bodies respond. Yeah, it's hard. This is a tricky time of year. There's a lot of things that are presented and cooked and plated for people and presented. So yeah, a lot of our early childhood coping mechanisms began with food. We didn't have drugs typically at a young age, so we used food. And so fasting and diets and systems where you're able to sort of get to know what your body's wanting versus what it's craving. Like Bo mentioned at the workshop, if you're really listening and you're patient, if like if the food that has the most vitamins and nourishment, if you're not wanting that means you're actually not hungry, you're just in craving. So if you're only using food for fuel, then there's a real breakthrough there. But we don't want to skip ahead and lie to our what the Toltecs say is denying yourself what you want is actually the greatest indulgence there is, because you've convinced yourself that you're doing something good or above others by being disciplined. And so there's this trick that happens. I know a lot of disciplined people who are very self-righteous in that they're disciplined. And so their ego is built around their discipline. And so it's not magical, and they're not interacting with their shadow. They're skipping past things in order to try to maintain a status. So there's kind of traps everywhere with this stuff. So we just want to find a way to be really honest with where we're at and get to know your passion for food, get to know your passion for life. And then, there comes a time, I think, where you can switch from discipline to impeccability, where you're really listening and you're patient. And rather than the emotions ruling how you eat, it becomes more of an alchemy process. And yeah, so these are subjects we talk about often.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing up food. It's a drug in a sense for a lot of us.
Yeah, I loved that share. Thank you for saying it's such a hot topic in these seasonal times. And I feel like, there's so much around that. The reason I loved it, or one of the reasons, is that you're like, this is, I'm doing this, and then I did this. And I think it's just a really good example of like allowing, rather than like our inner persecutor coming out. And a lot of times discipline is based in control. Like there's something out of control of our life. Some of us have, health symptoms popping up. And in this world, we have so many variations of how to care for ourselves. And I think that it gets hard to choose. It gets, so that the intuition is so, to me, just exponentially so beautiful, because there's that guidance. And sometimes participating in the big buffet is actually exactly what your body needed when we move out of the mind. And it's like, oh, well, that ingredient has the gluten, the sugar, the alcohol, and then we apply this to like Santa and Christmas. That's what we were talking about yesterday. Like we've uncovered truths. We were lied to. We were, betrayed as children, this whole myth. But it's like getting to the sensations and feelings that ran through us. And sometimes those foods or participating in certain things ignite these original patterns. And that's what Joel was saying, like a perfect avenue to recapitulate, because especially food will bring on lots of feelings. Like it's a big sense, right? And yeah, and like, a lot of us have experienced eating disorders, or like I said, health issues. And so there's so much complication in that. And so just noticing like what's occurring in the body, like what's surfacing when you go to eat that food versus that food, or all the things. Yeah.
Yeah, and our daughter is really teaching us about GNM, and there's a lot of you study GNM, and there's just a lot of potential freedom. In like the shamans in Africa that my friend went and trained with, they eat whatever they want. They've moved their assemblage point to a place where they're very alive and powerful, and are not as affected because they've seen through all of it. And so there comes a point where the GNM piece becomes, I think, pretty key to at least consider and be open to. That we are very powerful in our fear of the bread or the gluten, and then we eat the thing and we feel bad, and there's shame and guilt. And then, so all these people suffering by not being able to allow themselves to just be with where they're at, and trying to force themselves to change. And then they binge on something, and that's all just how we all are in different ways. So if there's a way to like reach the sadness and the wound and just honor it, and then celebrate life in a way that honors that where you're at, so that you're enjoying yourself and not limiting your experience based on fear. So discipline is more fear-based and impeccability is more love-based. And so we're just going to go through different stages of honoring what type of adventure you want to have. So it's like one of our clients finally let herself have a cappuccino after years, and it was just one of the most healing moments of her life. Right? Like, that's powerful. And then she ordered another one. She just, like yes, like if we can not get, we don't want to become, yeah, it's just a tricky dance, the shadow, the light, getting to know yourself.
Yeah, I'd love to add too, like, from experience, I've reacted to foods most of my life and sensitivity to all the things. And yeah, this new perspective that G&M provides, and I'm not well studied in it or anything. I'm going very slow because but we can, there's a perspective shift in there to even allow the reactions to occur. It's not like those reactions will necessarily disappear just because you're thinking about it. And I was told that most of my life. You can eat chocolate, it's just because you're reacting to it. And you just have to change your mind. German New Medicine or
Germanic New Medicine.
Germanic New Medicine or GHK.
Yeah, and
Germanic.
it's basically a system that suggests that, it's pretty extreme, but it says lung cancer is not from smoking. Because some people chain smoke their whole life and don't get lung cancer. Some people get lung cancer without smoking, right? The organs are not, we've come to these conclusions based on assumptions, and then we put that into the doctrine, and then we're bound by those stories.
And then the diagnosis and
so it's all emotional based in theory, and even surgeries, like I know a lot of musicians, they go to get surgery on their shoulder that could be the end of their drumming career, and then they get handed a book. It's a really powerful book. I forget the name, but it helps you deal with the emotional source of why the injury occurred or what it's representing in your emotional world. And then you're able to heal the emotional trauma and pain through tears or laughter or rage.
Nice, thank you.
And then the shoulder surgery is no longer needed. And I would argue that most surgeries are not needed. I mean, obviously broken bones or different extremes, but I think often there's a lot of surgery that happens in this world, both in the physical or where they're cutting people open for unnecessarily, when there's solutions that could be utilized, so.
Yeah, and this really pairs with what Joel and I do, like the somatic trauma resolution, soul essence reclaiming, and then the recapitulation. It's really getting to the core. And this is just pairing it, very much as a body-based experience and starting to track things, but not getting too consumed by what you're tracking either, because that can be such a mental process that can take over. Yeah, that's why I'm going slow, just to allow my system to guide me through it, the new information that's coming in.
Yeah, there's a powerful story of a woman that she flatlined at 4-stage cancer. She was dead, and in that NDE, she realized that her fear of getting cancer because her mother had cancer is what created her cancer. And inside of that NDE, she realized, well, if I created this, I can undo it. And somehow she did that because she was in that unique state of being pure energy and not in a physical form. And if everything is pure energy or comes energetic primarily, then we can get to our energy field, our energy body, and we can resolve things in the most powerful ways. And so she was in a state of silence, and she reached the totality of her being, because when you die, everything is revealed. And inside of that totality, she was able to completely reverse engineer her situation and is now helping people and is affecting other doctors to become aware and to get out of the industry that they're in and start offering real solutions that aren't limiting. But this is hard work regardless, because that NDE was made it possible for her to see this stuff. It's not as easy to see it without that NDE, right? So sometimes the car accident or the thing that you wish didn't happen, it needed to happen. You know, a lot of the clients that I work with were on the path to materialism. Everything was fine. And then out of nowhere, everything changed instantly. And as difficult as that's been, they're very thankful that they were redirected to a path of heart rather than one that was based on financial security, you know, and status quo sort of experiences. So everything happens for us, not to us. And the more we realize that, the more liberating life becomes. And then you start to realize that everything that happens when you walk out the door is a reflection of you. Everything is being provided as a means to teach you about you. This is your dream to interact with. And the more courageous you get about that, the more you can go and explore that, especially in big cities, going up and starting conversations with people. When you come out of your comfort zone with humanity or with any place and start engaging with it, you realize that the universe sort of aligns with your intentions, and the doors will open because of that curiosity and your willingness to fully show up and experience something that's outside of what your patterns are. So breaking pattern, going to places you've never been, getting up in the middle of the night, doing things differently than you've done before. There tends to be a really unique shift of the assemblage point that occurs. So you don't need a shaman or a guru or a teacher to move your perception. You have the power within you to do that. And it's very uncomfortable. I get told to get up in the middle of the night. I'm just like fighting, like, no, I'm going to just put my head and just let me go back to sleep. But so you just, these two different parts of you. Part of you really wants in on that unique pattern break. And then part of you is just fighting it because there's a lot of freedom in that pattern break, and we're more comfortable in what's familiar rather than the unknown. So, but rather than beat myself up for not doing it, you know, I try to just like really be patient with this process.
Well, and it's so important to honor, yeah, where you're at in a way that's like knowing your system, knowing your body, knowing your life story, and having perspective that, yeah, just getting a clear view each day, each moment of where you're at in your life story. So a lot of us have had, you know, different things happen to us that can create a lot of fatigue or depression, or, you know, riding these waves has been challenging. And maybe getting up in the middle of the night is not what is the best for your body. Maybe sleep, you know, because dreaming can pull you out. It can also energize you. But if you go to like do the lucid dreaming, it can like something can turn on and you're not going to sleep that night. So it's getting clear about like what you need for that night, or just calling in support and nourishment for your body. And that may be learning to fly in your dreams or to have a really good night's sleep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
like basically the nervous system is, you know, a great intuitive guide. It's like if you're like this or you're pushing, or yeah, so just resting and relaxing back and down into your body to receive the answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Learning how to rest learning how to give your body what it's asking for and acquiescing. Yeah, and so I get really boosted from the workshops, and I don't sleep like I normally do. I'm very altered, and so I've come to fall in love with those times where I'm yeah, just kept awake, because that's where my breakthroughs happen. Is like I'm dealing with my mind more clearly. So I learned to turn it off and use that time. And it feels like two different channels. Like I have to pull away from one channel and go to this other channel. And then suddenly I find myself back in that other channel again. I'm like, wait, I didn't come back here. Something brought me back here. It doesn't feel like me. It feels like I just have to keep reestablishing that connection that keeps getting rewired without my permission. And I could be wrong on that. I don't mean to create a fear-based story around it, but the more you start working with the two minds, your natural mind and this other mind, you start to realize that it's like it doesn't stop. And it's not just you. It isn't even you, I don't think. It's like a program that just doesn't turn off. And especially at night when you're sleeping, the program is just having such an effect on your dreams. Because you're in a subconscious layer, and so you're being, you're that much more yeah, susceptible in a sense. But it's also, that vulnerability is where your power lies, and becoming fearless inside of that awareness that there's more going on than we realize. You start playing around with it and exploring what it would mean to be in your natural mind for longer and longer periods of time. So the Toltecs say there's a soft voice, and it's very, very quiet. It's very unique things to say. And then there's a hard voice that's pretty consistent. And the hard voice will even try to, mimic the soft voice to make you think. So the ability to discern these things. So at the workshops, I get really altered, and I move into this deeper level of exploration around what is going on here, and how are we, what are we dealing with in the dream world, or in this dream. And this dream starts to become more magical from doing all the magical passes, from exploring recapitulation. It just naturally leads to being able to do things with your perception that are really healing, and helps you go, it really calls you to experience life as an adventure, makes you more aware of where you're stepping, where your feet are placed, and you start being called to do things with your time that, yeah, are just of more youthful callings. Like you move deeper into your imagination and creativity. And that's what's needed in order to navigate these paths. We don't want to rely on a teacher to tell us anything. We want to get so creative in our imagination that we're able to reach profound states of clarity on how to take care of ourselves in the day-to-day. All the little decisions we make, we call this the decision-making center. It's also our throat chakra. So what we speak, how we talk about ourselves, how we reflect on things, how we share. It's really magical. It creates the world in which we're inside of. And so I invite you guys to use this place, this opportunity, as a microphone to the universe. Yeah, feel free to. It's a wonderful tool to have. It's just at any point you can. Yeah.
Maybe we could pause and just take a breath.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's just like a lot. I always find like the way these community meetings really weave. So taking a breath in between, a lot of information our body's receiving. So if it feels good for you, feel free to, close your eyes. Feel into what you are sitting on, this support. Noticing your breath. And beginning to allow your energy to begin to move to the back body. You can even begin to kind of lean more back. And then maybe you notice your energy dropping down the body. And you can play with your breath. Maybe going a little slower with your breath, expanding it very gently. Finding your own edges of tension. Seeing on the next breath, you can breathe deeper into your sits bones, all the way down to the roots of your body. And you can even start to yawn, stretching the jaw, doing a little pretend yawning and sighing, and seeing if a natural yawn wants to come. Feeling into the shoulders, possibly dropping down and back. Yeah, feeling any release in the jaw or any tension. Just bringing your awareness and attention to the jaw, not needing to change any experience that your body is having here, just allowing and witnessing. Feel free to make sounds on your exhales, parting your lips or opening your mouth. Playing with some primal sounding, allowing the animal body to come on board here, come forward. You can get weird with it if you're comfortable with that. And from this stillness here, and this dropping back and down, maybe there's some slight, slow, gentle movement that your body is feeling called to do. Maybe it's a gentle rocking of the hips. Moving the shoulders so slightly. Maybe the head side to side. And taking a moment to honor your body. This magical gift that keeps on giving throughout a lifetime in so many ways. Just taking that in, the heart, the mind, the belly, the flesh, the skin, the bones, the blood, all the organs, the whole system working together completely uniquely from one another, and yet very much connected. Oh. Hmm. Dropping down into the earth. That feels good for you. Meeting the Earth Mother here. All the nourishment from down below. Through mud and stone and roots. All the different networks, the waters, the mycelium network, everything below that we know about and do not know about. Feeling into your base and how it is connected here to what is below. And taking a few breaths into that sensation. Feeling into the uniqueness of your connection with the Earth Mother. Allowing this energy to begin to flood your being, spiraling up through the body, all the way to the top of the head, and opening ever so slightly or very widely, connecting with the sun, feeling the brilliance of the rays moving through your body, through the crown of your head. Allowing it to melt down over every inch of the outside of your body, filling your energetic field, feeling it cascade slowly throughout your whole inner landscape, touching every organ, moving throughout the body, and all the way down to the roots of your body. And just feeling into how these energies, these masculine and feminine energies, are dancing and swirling inside of your body. What does that feel like for you in this moment? Begin to slowly come back to our screens by caressing our bodies, maybe our arms, our chests, our legs, whatever part of the body you feel called to give extra attention. You can place your hands on your face, breathing into your face. honoring this sacred temple of yours. Oh. Mm. Thank you, everyone. Mm.
Thank you, Rachel.
Mm. Mm. Thank you. Yeah, I say this most community meetings because it's just so prevalent for me, but there is never the same meditation, these intuitive, somatic guided experiences. It's a co-creation. So typically this is how I work with clients, and then in the gathering that I hold space for is, and some of you know this that are here today, but it's like your energetic field is informing the field, and then the words and the energy that comes from it is like, yeah, I'm guiding it this way, but you all are informing the field and how it's actually weaving. And so it's such a surprise for me and such a pleasure to get to know you through this process and do this with you. And I just, yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, this it's like co-dreaming, group dreaming. You know, dreaming is a term that has many meanings and different ways of applying that word. But if this is a dream we're in, as the Toltec suggests, then we learn to dream here. We learn how to interact with this dream in order to become conscious dreamers. And the potential there is that we can learn to, pick up on each other as a wolf pack, become aware of everyone's feelings. That's what we practiced in our last day, is to walk in single file in the mountains in silence.
And also the day, or the third day of the retreat, we did this. And just to let you know, a lot of times during these meditations, which are usually much longer, but there's this beautiful meditation that's flowing, and a lot of people didn't wake up. So you're encouraged to follow that. In the retreat, and I have clients where they will fall asleep every time during a meditation, and a lot of like yoga classes or dreaming systems, it's like, well, don't fall asleep, that's bad. But that's not the way I roll. It's, to me, your body was really needing that. And it's different type of nourishment when it's being held. And I have clients that will drop off, but we're in a dreaming state together. And so she is responding to the meditation completely different. And yet when she comes out, sometimes I will X out the Zoom call and let them sleep by request. I'll always ask, how do you want to end this session? And then I'll hear, later, wow, this came up, and they don't know what my meditation was just from their dreaming body. So then they're like saying this and this, and it will mirror, but it's like slightly abstract, right? But it mirrors what I was speaking. And that's why I've been told time and time, or shown time and time again, this is not my meditation that I'm giving. It's like, that's what it is. It's this dreaming space we're entering. That's super unique to each person. So very fun. And that happened a bit in the retreat as well. Yeah. And I'm so curious about integration. I don't know if we can slide into that, if people have shares, but our house flooded after the retreat. There was a tiny line that went from the freezer to the water wall outlet. and it was just teeny tiny leak, but for some reason it was in the middle of the night and it leaked and it covered 2 floors. And it's a rental home. We have amazing owners. They got in, you know, I reacted to the renovation of it or restoration. So we're in an Airbnb right now. So immediately displaced after the retreat, and it was seamless and beautiful and lots of uncomfortable parts. And then personally, what had happened to me taking Joel's workshop, I didn't realize. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna join you. I didn't realize what I was doing. Like, oh, I'm inside of a 2-day very powerful workshop, because we talk about this, we do things together, but it was very, very different and altered me, and I'm struggling. I mean, it has been like, whoa, it shifted me so greatly. And so I just want to thank you for all of you that were there. It was just so beautiful. And as much as this is a struggle, I mean, it's a perfect example of like really expanding, and then like what was learned from that, and like dropping down, going inward, having a lot of time in this Airbnb by myself, and allowing all these old patterns to come forward, to be acknowledged and recapitulated. But I just want to acknowledge how challenging it can be to shift that far. Like our assemblage points shifted. We talked about it. Joel said, you know, be careful driving. You know, most retreats, workshops, things like, you can be pretty altered afterwards. So I just want to acknowledge that in the field, and hear from you all and how you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Janet, welcome.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Hi, sorry I was late.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I've been really high, like, and yeah, at the same time, there's really not a lot of words, and there are tons of words. I mean, I feel like my growth, like I'm living in a rocket ship. And at the same time, I feel divinely held. I love you so much, and I'm just so eternally grateful. And it's the expansion and growth is huge, and yet I feel like I'm a snail. I mean, I'm more poetic than ever, and I mean, it's just, yeah, I'm just so grateful, and it's helping me through the holy days, I call them, because I'm alone, and yet I don't feel alone. I mean, all my dreams are coming true, and I'm lucid dreaming, and I mean, this morning I had the most boring dream ever, but I was completely awake and dreaming, and I was just shopping in a thrift store, and it's not like a profound dream by any means, but it's accepting exactly what you guys say, and I'm right there with you. Like, I'm just right there with you, and I was with you, and I drove to Montana and back, and I'm with you even through this silly screen, and I am just embracing the love of what I am, and loving everybody, every rock, every conflict morsel in my German new medicine training. And yeah, anyway, those are some words. Those are some words. I'm just ever grateful for meeting the people on here in real life, and I hope I get to meet each and every one of you in real life. I really like real life. Like real life. Okay, that's it. And yeah, the end of the year, the solstice. Yeah, gratitude. Thank you. I love you. That's it. Sorry, I'm a little bit verbose today. It's my gratitude spilling out of my pineal gland.
Oh, thank you, Janet.
Amazing.
Love you.
Yeah, love you. So powerful. Mm. What a gift to share this way and just to really be honest about how affected we are by this powerful work and having the words to speak to it. It's really appreciate your contribution to this community, having been here really since the beginning, and yeah, just an honor to work with you, Janet.
Beautiful words.
Yes, beautiful. Hey Dan, welcome, brother.
Hey,
Man.
going. Yeah, I just want to thank you, Rachel, for that meditation. That was really powerful, and it just seems like I can feel the energy in this group, and it's really powerful. It's like as you led us through that meditation, it was the words are maybe the tip of the iceberg, but the power, the intent, like oh man, like it was really beautiful to be a part of that. So thank you so much. And yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name's Dan. I'm calling from Canada, Toronto. Today's my birthday. And so, yeah,
Happy birthday.
thank you. Yeah, I couldn't imagine a better place to be today with you guys in this beautiful, container that you set up. And I'm not too familiar with Joel's work. I just got introduced to it maybe like a month ago. So I got the multiplicity download like the first 3 classes. So I've been doing the things, and I remember the first night I did it, and I in my dreams I could see my hand, like I could see my hands coming in, and like I was actually doing the magical passes in my dreams, which is really interesting. And yeah, so it's been really beautiful to yeah, have that happen and how this work is kind of informing some of the other spiritual work that I'm into right now, and which is supporting a lot of the other work that I'm going to be getting into in January and February. So I'm really grateful to be here and to meet everybody, and hi from Canada. It's snowing here, and yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you introducing yourself, brother, and welcome to this work. Yeah, I learned this from others, and I'm just sharing what I've learned, and I'm so glad people are benefiting in the way that I did, and it's very powerful that you experienced that right away. Some people spend 20 years doing this work to have that experience you had. So powerful sensitivity, and therefore, yeah, we each have a unique formula of different levels of density and sensitivity, and it serves perfectly for how it sort of serves as a blueprint as to what will come as based on how it begins. So you can just start to track that and be open to really allowing this work to profoundly affect you and support you. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I love how you mentioned how it's supporting other things. That's a big one for me. It's like allowing all the things to really nurture you. And I feel like when there's many things, then I mean, we can get lost in the many things as well, but when we're centered around the very specific things we choose, then I feel like that's when our intuition really comes on board, because then we're taking these pieces from that, and then it all becomes our own, which we all individually, I feel like, have a representation of powerful expression and an introspection around what's happening in the world, or like we all come in a really powerful time in history, and we're all very much powerful seekers, and there's just that time when it's like the seeking goes from here to not like owning it, that sounds weird, but yeah, integrating it, and then it becomes some new beautiful form that is shared with the world. And I feel like that's what our times are really starting to look like. So I just want to, yeah, thank you.
Mayada, welcome.
Aw. Hi.
Oh, can't hear you yet.
Oh, the audio, you're
So-
unmuted, but
Might be your headphones.
It's
Yeah.
this thing. I have to.
oh, there we go.
There you go.
Just want to say hi to Janet and Bo. I miss you both. And to you guys, this in person was so wonderful. It's been emotional, it's been chaotic, and it's been very calming at the same time. It's like I'm riding a wave and watching things from different perspectives. Dreaming wise, I think I had a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
I think I got to that. I've been doing the magical passes, the magical pass we learned at the workshop daily, twice a day, actually. And yeah, I had I was in in the dream, and then I went to another dream, and then a memory appeared in the other dream, and it was so quick, like it was uh, fleeing, and I knew it was a hurtful memory or a sad memory. So I remembered quickly to recapitulate the memory that was in the dream of the second dream of the first dream. I don't know. It was just very magical. I've never had a dream like that. So it's working. It's happening. Something's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful and so thankful, and I hope to meet you all in person as well one day.
Oh.
And I'll see you in April.
Oh, can't wait. Yeah, so cool. Thank you so much, Mayada. And yeah, it's such an honor to meet you in person and work with you. And yeah, just so glad that you found this work. It's a good fit for you.
Yeah.
With background and your powerful experiences. So thank you for sharing with Janet. And she shared a little bit like how powerful of your connection, and we're just spreading the love around. And yeah, so cool. We're very unique people all meeting each other at a very unique time.
Beautiful.
All right, welcome, Susan. Hi.
There we go. Oh.
All
Hi,
right.
everybody.
Hey.
I have so many things to say.
Good.
First of all, I'm extremely grateful for you two, and for everybody that's connected to this work. The first thing I want to say is yesterday it was the 1-year anniversary that I left my job. And how much I've changed internally.
Well,
Huge.
You know that all right, I grew up in Michigan, so I grew up in snow. I was in snow for the first 30 years of my life. I've been in the Bay Area and outside of San Francisco since 91. So there's no snow here unless I want to drive 2 hours. And I've had this since I was a child. Every time the winter was approaching, I would just fight it and fight it and fight it. I hated the winter. I hated it. And I still am like that. Not now, though. I had a huge breakthrough about 3 or 4 weeks ago. One day I don't know what happened, but I was thinking about it and I'm like, why do you hate it so much? But I couldn't figure it out. But all of a sudden it was just like I felt it release from my body. Like, it's okay. It's okay. It's wintertime, Susan. It's okay. Yeah, it's been huge. It was the dark, but I'm not afraid of the dark. I mean, I never really was afraid of the dark. I just didn't, it's not a lot to do in the dark, except, be silent. Okay, I talked to Joel a couple days ago. I've been dreaming. I haven't dreamt in like 15 years. And I chose this year to go back to my teenage years, which were the mid-70s, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I did a lot of drugs. Anyway, I had a dream. I had another dream last night, Joel. All right, first I tried to recapitulate something that I was recapitulating a couple days ago that worked really well, and I tried to do it last night. Well, it wasn't going like I thought. Anyway, I was back in the living room of my childhood home in Michigan, and I was seeing all these different scenarios. I mean, I must have saw 15 or 20 of them. And then I fell asleep. And then I woke up and I thought that was crazy. I was seeing all different kinds of scenarios in that house. So then I fell back asleep. I said, I have bones. The forest has been leaving me bones for 4 years now. And these two are the last recent ones I've received. So I hold on to them daily. Anyway, so last night I'm like, I'm going to fall asleep with my bones in my hand. So I did. And I found myself in this dream, and it's so hard to explain. I don't know how to explain this. I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. I was this age now, but I was in a different time. And I was with one of my childhood friends. And she drove me. We drove to this party together. And I can't explain it. It was like I was like in a circus, and there was all these really freaky people and freaky things happening all around me. People's faces were distorted. It was pretty trippy. And I thought, I wonder when I woke up. Oh, and then I don't know how long it was, and it didn't scare me. And then I kept telling my friend Lori to call me an Uber because I wanted to get out of there. And she wouldn't. Anyway, then I found my phone. And then I woke up. I was going to tell this little boy, there's a little boy showing up in my dreams, young, like 12-year-old boys. And there was a young boy, and he asked me, why am I not tall enough? And I said, I'm going to tell you a story. And then I woke up. Okay, so how I woke up is I have a string of bells on my door. They're not light, they're medium. So they ring every time. Anyway, those bells started ringing and they woke me up. And I went outside and I'm like, there's no wind, right? So I wasn't scared either. I wasn't scared at all. Didn't flinch, nothing. I wasn't scared. That's another thing that I've noticed about myself. I'm not getting, like real trigger. Not that I ever did, but certainly how certain things trigger you. No, I wasn't scared at all. Anyway, so this morning I keep a bowl of water out in the breezeway for my cat. And I went out there. I wanted to see if there was any dirt in it. Because if it was, the raccoons were around that side. So maybe the raccoons were ringing. I don't know. But that's what I'm just feeling. I don't know. I feel really, really good. I feel blessed. And then I went to my work on Thursday. I wanted to see how detached I was from that place. I was invited to the Christmas party. So I went to it, and I'm totally detached from it.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I've been having some big breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And then I've been going, you know, I hike. I live at the foot of Mount Diablo. So I hike once a day. Not this whole week, I've been going up there twice a day. But I really do miss the snow this time of year. I really, really do.
Mm.
That's the only time I miss the snow is this time of year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. So happy for your breakthroughs, and you've been doing really, really powerful work. And yeah, thank you for sharing your joy. It's so infectious, and yeah, it's so important to honor and speak to these breakthroughs and be in gratitude for these changes that are happening to us. And when we share them together like this, we all benefit. So yeah, thank you for using your throat chakra to speak.
And another thing too is when you guys were doing the retreat, I was doing my own retreat, and I could feel the energy from all you guys. I was going through some major things too when you guys were at the retreat. Yeah, no, I could feel it. I felt you guys couple days before and a couple days after.
We felt you, Susan. It's been really strong. A lot of people contributed and received so much from this time, and that's the nonlinear piece. That's what's so cool about this work, is some people are on the other side that have died and they're helping, and some people are in another town and they're still helping, and some people are in other worlds maybe that we don't know about, and
Participate.
just this
Yeah.
connection. You like start doing certain movements and you feel all these old Native Americans like observing, because they used to do this work, you know. I mean, this is very normal stuff. So we're you know, and as we progress and the courses get a little bit more people, you'll start to feel it even stronger, because it's called human mass. And so it's not about, on some level it's so cool to keep it small and intimate like it was, but there's also this incredible potential for more and more people to benefit. And so it's just about honoring this moment, because it's going to change and it's going to be different each time. Yeah.
Not in a cult sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, we're gonna pass it on to Janet.
Meaning energetic field. You don't even have to come to the retreat.
It's not, yeah, it's just that that's the delicacy of it. Like the human mass is such a key piece, like at a concert when you feel those waves of energy move through the whole crowd.
And honoring cults. I mean, the baseline of what a cult is and the benefits of a cult or a community are like what Joel's speaking of. I just like to bring up how of a fine line that is, and we're very sensitive to that line because we've experienced, a lot of you know that we've experienced a lot of that. And so as we were both called to come out into the world and share, which we didn't plan, we're like, yeah, this could get weird real quick. So we like to drop it into that, you know, this is about your powerful experience, not any, you know, power dynamics are something that I think we'll always bring up and talk about. Just so, you know, we can get into a cult and be like, oh my God, this is a yes, I'm going to hand my power over. And sometimes that's just like a natural move because our conditioning in this world has been to hand our power over. So this is about doing that and sovereignty to be present in all of our lives. Yeah, just want to speak to that. As we say the word human mass, it's a little triggering for me. So yeah,
for sure. It's gonna change, and then we learn at each stage and we adjust. And so it's more like creating a council of a circle of people that all have something to say, and so that we're not getting in a hierarchy of any sorts, and
the wise counsel.
And yeah, and then walking away if we need to. Like it doesn't need, the spirit always has a backup plan. There's always going to be
Mhm.
magic pouring into this place.
Mm.
And we are so fortunate at this moment to be inside of that unique way in which that's happening. So we can celebrate that. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also just want a quick thank you for showing us and sharing about your bones.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
part
yeah.
of our sessions together it's so very unique, and I feel like there's courage in that. And I just want to speak to that really quick, like to bring nature in. I'm not akin to walls. That's square, rectangular walls. It's like not. So for me, I need to bring a lot of nature in, or plants, to be connecting with nature all the time in those ways. And Susan, you're just a really pure example of like, this is what's happening. I'm a bone collector and I have a room full of bones and I sleep with my bones. I mean, some people that's going to blow their mind. And I just appreciate that, because I'm just like, yes, we've been taught not to touch that dead bird, and use your own intuition. I'm not saying be reckless, but if you need to pick up bones from a dead, like if you're being called, we were trained not to touch anything. And
Right.
I don't, but Susan, you are continuously called to collect these things. And that's very obvious that is your intuition, because the way you work with them. And so, you've broke out of any conditioning that would say that's dirty, bad, germy, fear of germs and all of that. So it's just really brave and yeah, all the things. It's very beautiful.
Okay, can I tell the story about this bone?
Please.
Yeah.
I just got this bone like 3 weeks ago. Okay, so there's a chair, I call it my goddess chair. There's a chair in the forest. It's like a lounge chair, and I sit in it. I've been sitting in it I started hiking again up in the open space in 18. I didn't go up there for a couple of years because of rattlesnakes I was seeing anyway. But I've been going up there since 18, and I found this chair, and I've been sitting in that chair since 18. Anyway, so I'm sitting in my chair, and this guy walked, this bone was at the foot of my chair, but I didn't see it when I crawled into my chair. Anyway, the dog comes by with his owner, and he picks this bone up in his mouth. And I was like, oh no, that bone was for me. The dog's got it. Anyway, so the owner sees the bone, and I'm watching him, and I knew the bone was for me, right? So the owner takes it out of the dog's mouth and throws it. And I saw exactly where he threw it. Thank God I didn't have to climb up real high to get it. But yeah, so I got this one. And it stunk for a couple weeks. It's still kind of smelly, but yeah, no, I've always been like this since I was a kid. Me and my brother used to go in the woods in Indiana and pick stuff up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
So cool.
Beautiful. Great story.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. All right. Welcome, Bo. Hey, man.
Hello. Yeah, I was going to talk about the meditation like we did at the retreat, and then well, the one just now, I almost fell asleep again. Like I've been going pretty deep with those, but like I remember the one at the retreat, we were working with a memory, and then I kind of picked one before it started, but when we did it, I had this experience like I thought I'd fallen asleep, and I thought I was like going into a dream or something like that, because I could still hear Rachel's voice like guiding us, but like my vision, it was kind of foggy, like kind of faded. And after I got home, I kind of thought about it a little and reflected on it, and it was actually a memory of mine that came up. At the meditation, I thought that I was like dreaming or something, and I was signing a guest book that was kind of over by that piano in the theater. But when I think about it, it was me signing this guest book at the celebration of life I went to for my two friends when we did the meetup in at your place in September. I couldn't stay the full thing. I had to come back early to go to that. And that's what that memory was from. And I'm not really sure why. It's not a bad memory. Well, kind of a bad memory, but it was a good day. We celebrated them, there were still lots of tears shed and everything. But so yeah, I wanted to say that came up. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was definitely like a memory that surfaced from that meditation. So whatever it was, it worked. And then my dreaming when I've got back has been really intense, just very intense dreams lately. So um, the integration's been going pretty good. I definitely felt a shift even today. I guess maybe that's being that it's the solstice or whatever, but been feeling really good lately. So a lot better than leading up to it. It's stuff was getting kind of stressful, like missing my connecting flight and possibly being rerouted to Helena instead of Missoula. So, but it all worked out. So,
Yes, it did.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Bo. So glad you could be there, man. And Bo and I got to work one-on-one in the last day on the theater of reenacting our past, and it was really, really appreciate you sharing such a profound memory with me. And that's a lot of what the benefit of this is, just sometimes these one-on-one groupings when we meet in a group and we really get to go into something personal. And yeah, we just got to cover a lot of ground over the period of time that we all spent together. And it's still going to continue to affect us, and it'll carry us to April for those of you that can join, and just keep riding the wave of this type of support and magic. And yeah, so glad you could be there, and thanks for sharing on the Telegram group that the sign you saw on the way on your arriving.
Yeah.
It's the first house.
Yeah,
yeah,
really.
that was cool. I looked out the window and I saw it like clear as day, like, oh yeah, Warriors for sure. So that was cool. Yeah, I'll be at the one in April. I'm planning on it. So
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
So good. Yeah, I'm so excited to announce that soon. The dates, I think probably be early April. So
okay.
Yeah.
all right.
Oh.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I didn't even think about, we were doing theater in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Theater Infinity and theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that witness work is really powerful. And it's amazing that you took time to reflect. It's like, oh, well, this was my experience. And then you were like, wait, and then you reflected more and more came, because dreams, memories, they're elusive. But when we take the time to it's so nuanced. And when we rest into the body, that's where usually those answers from the body, or there's memories come from the body. Like we can choose with the mind, but your body was choosing that memory. And then it was such a beautiful process that you outlined and had. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Anish, welcome. Good to see you.
Oh, I just want to share that after the workshop, my dreams have been like I can remember them a lot more now. And for me, there have been like repetitive people from my family that kept showing up. And so intuitively, I felt like there was something that needed attention there with the 2 or 3 people that were like highlighted in my dreams. And at the workshop, even, I had this cough, I still have it. And when I came back, it got even more intense. I still have it, and it's hard to breathe, right? And so I contacted my initial energy healer just to see what was going on. And she was like, you already know what's going on. You're just like in the grieving process, and the lungs store a lot of that. So she's like, that's what's coming up. And then when she was like clearing my field, the 2 people that were in my dream, I intuitively knew that had something to do with the dreams with my energy field. She's like, one of them's energy is like not facing you, but it's like right here. So when you're trying to do meditation, you're trying to seek answers, you're not getting, because there's somebody literally blocking. So I was like, wow. So that's why in my dreams, if repetitively keep getting dreams about these 3 people because they're actually in my energy field. So it's really cool to see like the correlation. And then, yeah, the workshop was great. As I mentioned, shared at the workshop, I didn't think that we could get to a place of the silence just through doing the passes, and to discover that has been amazing. It's the same as meditating and getting there, right? And so that was a beautiful experience for me. Just that silence, the calm was amazing. And the third day, I wasn't able to be there the whole time, but when I did show up, and I just wanted to share, just the people that were there, how they received me as soon as I walked into the door. I was just like taken aback. I couldn't even speak in that moment because I was like, wow, I've never been received in that way with such like, love. And so yeah, I just wanted to thank you all.
Thank you, Anush. What a powerful share.
Yeah, we were so excited to see you. We're like, oh, good, we'll take all we can get.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you to speaking to the silence. It's this, that's the point of all the work is to get to the silence, because from there that's the launching pad. That's where everything changes, and it's all on divine timing. No one's, a lot of people can't get there with meditation. They need magical passes because it's a moving meditation. And then like some people go to Vipassanas and they push past their limitation and they have a negative experience because you're asking your body to go through something really torturous essentially in order to achieve a breakthrough. And so I think the magical passes are just a much more subtle and helpful way to get there without trying to make it so difficult. And so I encourage people to continue if you haven't experienced silence or I have friends that they try everything. They look at candles, they do all these things. They don't know what it means to have silence. It's just a totally terrifying concept. And it was for me too. When I was a kid, I was like, I'm one of those people that will never be able to meditate. Like the whole thing was threatening to me. And but it's just such a subtle discovery. It's not meant to be understood in the mind, right? It's because the mind will keep you from the silence. So it's this whole like just strange paradox of intensity. So yeah, what a powerful time that we spent together, just a few days, and how much happens in such a short period of time, because it's not short. Time is measured by intensity, and we're exploring some real intensity inside of this work together. So and then our days start getting longer instead of shorter. Like people say, oh, time's moving quicker. Well, what if we were to find a way to slow it down and really take in each moment and properly reflect on each shift of perception and move into the contemplation. And you can do that while doing a 9 to 5. There's a way to do both. So as much magic as we can bring in, it'll spread out into the mundane, and then the mundane no longer exists. You're always interacting with your power intact, and you're able to handle each situation and make these little pivots, these little adjustments to how you respond to triggers, stress. And then you're no longer in a world of stress, and your body starts feeling better, because the stress is actually where a lot of the digestion or physical injury stuff is associated with. And so we're just doing that work together and supporting each other in it.
Yeah, as you were both speaking, it was like these 2 words came. It's like, well, the intensity of our experience together, I feel like allows us, there's an allowing in that group intensity. It's like because we're doing it together, but how alone were we together? It was so strange. Every time, I did it with Clear Green and the Carlos Castaneda, but it was so profound in those few days for me, of how like I came back so much to myself amongst others. And So there's this intensity that I feel like allows for us to arrive. And then for me, that point, it's just acknowledging. It's like arriving at what is. There's like an allowing for us to arrive to what is surfacing individually for us. And then the acknowledgement of it. That's been such a big word in the last 24 hours for me, or like maybe in this integration process, but because we're riding these waves of intensity, and it's, my questions are like, how do I show up for this? Like, what's needed? And each moment that shifts and change, and then the pivot, right? We're slightly shifting for each thing that's arriving. And I just noticed over and over, the only thing that's needed here is to acknowledge this right now. And then the next wave, acknowledge. And it's really challenging to do that. But yeah, I'm big in that. But thank you, Anish. It was like, yeah, really amazing to be with you again in person.
Yeah.
But like a new way too.
And for surprising us, good.
Yeah.
It's cool to bring these shifts, right? Like you just, coming late to the party. Sometimes arriving late to the party is perfect, right? And it changed the geometry and the numbers, and then we were able to all peel off into two people, or into groups of two. Had you not been there, it would have been a group of three somewhere. And then so it just, thanks for following that calling and gifting us and showing up with your love.
Thank you. Yeah. Something else I was noticing I was reflecting to Joel after the third day in the theater. It was like when we started present that exercise, and I remember being at Clear Green, with Carlos's apprentices, and they're saying like, do this journal entry, and then you're going to get in groups, and everyone's like, what is this? And in the it was so cool because everyone was like, what are we doing? Like, what do you, and we're kind of like, Joel has a version and I have a version, and it was confusing. And then you pair up, and I was like, did you look around the room? Like how powerful suddenly this confusing exercise of like sharing a memory and like doing a magical pass, and how acting it out, how quickly everyone really got connected, and how powerful that experience was. And it was very short. We were like kind of running out of time. But how we paired up, and just didn't want to let that part go of that day, because there is something that just instantly seems to occur when we share a part of ourselves with one other in groups. And that was obvious throughout the time when we went to share. I mean, everybody had so much to say in their own way, and it just brought so much to everyone. And then again, to pair up one-on-one has its own type of really powerful intensity. So just thank you for bearing with us in that in that kind of chaos, and expressing yourselves. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then some of the most powerful conversations happened over lunch or in the cars, like how we broke off into different experiences. So it's just, I mean, we could structure a retreat just around like driving around in cars together. And, I was saying we should all go to Walmart and walk single file through the aisles. And like, if somebody gets in our way, we just pause, hunker down and wait for them to leave. And then just start, like have somebody film it. No, but yeah, we can totally break pattern together in groups, and we can truly change the world in this way. You literally change Walmart forever. You change, and then the town gets affected by that, and then even the state, right? Like everything spreads out. It gives people permission to be weird and to enter into their power in that respect. And so, and
it can be confronting. Like we got kicked out of that theater. This musician I won't go into the full story, but as much as I was speaking with him, there was you know, something that came up around time and who rented the space. And it was like, oh, okay, we're wrapping it up. And we were moving and we got to the lobby and I spoke to him again. He came out and he was just like, respect them. And he just needed, I think he was pretty triggered by I mean, I was like, oh yeah, I could imagine walking into our group, but on the third day, at the end of the third day, how much energy was in that theater. And, you know, he was like, you were giving us the stink eye. And oh God, no, we were just fucking high. Like, I don't know what to say, buddy. But just how confronting this energy can be as well. Yeah. And it was beautiful. Like, you know, I touched in with Janet the next day. How are you? Because I was a little concerned. It was pretty, kind of volatile in his expression, and everyone was just so in a place to be able to manage that in their system, because you're in a bit of a, you know, we're altered, so it can be a little more of a sensitive space, but overall I feel like everyone really did well with what occurred. So yeah,
and from the Toltec perspective, that's the ultimate gift, is that a petty tyrant comes in to give you the most the lesson that cannot be without, like that. That's these tyrants in this world are just as important as the seekers and the adventurers. I don't know how to explain how important it is. It's just, rather than be at odds with these people, just thank them from the bottom of your heart for allowing themselves to be inside of that much pain, so that we can learn about, as anthropologists, we can learn about humanity. We can become understanding of what is going on. And then that triggers our wounds when we see somebody. Like, I've been that guy where I didn't get my order right. I haven't eaten in 2 days. They fucked up my steak. Like, I'm about to fucking kill somebody. And it's not because of them. It's because I put myself in such a vulnerable situation because I wasn't caring for myself. And all of a sudden I'm trying to care for myself, and I can't get what I need in order to think, or at least what I think I need, you know? And so, yeah, we're not, the Toltecs say either you learn to be amongst petty tyrants without getting triggered, or you turn into one. You join the ranks of the tyrants unless you free yourself from them. And so we all become bitter. We all become resentful at certain moments in life. And it's just about admitting to it, you know, and then properly releasing the pain. And then Toltecs, once they heal, they go and try to find a tyrant to work for, to make sure that they've mastered these areas of patience, control, sweetness, and ruthlessness. And if you've developed those attributes as a warrior, then you are no longer limited to your experience here in this realm, and you can start to travel in other worlds, having known that you're not offended anymore. Because out in the abyss, you're going to get bitch slapped by forces that can handle you, that you have no comprehension of. And if you're easily triggered and offended by that, it'd be like being out on the football field, not knowing how to play football without pads on. You know, you're just going to get hurt. And so there's no reason to do that to ourselves. So we can properly, slowly build our resilience through how we respond to traffic or delays or flight cancellations. You know, you could really lose your energy in a panic over not getting to the workshop. Right. So that in itself is a test of, okay, am I going to show up now all wrecked? Because, you know, and so often that was what was told to us at Clear Green. Like, if you show up here all fucked up and expect us to fix you, that's just not going to work out. You know, this is a journey. Like, when Carlos would go to meet Don Juan, all these magical things would happen, but sometimes things got really tricky. And so this lineage and what we're doing here is similar, is that we have these are appointments with knowledge. And our coming together there's some people didn't make it to the workshop, right? That happens. But that doesn't mean that they can't connect like Susan did. They can still accept the situation as is, tap into the group from afar, and they're just as much influencing as the ones that are there in person. And then the helpers that I have in the nonlinear, people that have crossed over, it's just also connected.
Yeah, and to me, whenever there's like an intention and then there's an announcement for that intention to the community, it's either like a yes or no, and some people that isn't happen till the last minute, but if like that yes comes in, that's when your workshop or retreat began, is with your yes.
Totally.
And then everything, because then it's like you're moving towards it, and it's that intention is set and like calling you, and all this magic is starting to happen. And it usually involves some undoing tyrants, the flight, just as Bo was saying. And he had the ability, and then this magic happened, and then he arrived. But really he arrived, long ago to this retreat. It's like I really feel like a part of our being, whether it's our cells or whatever, starts to rearrange towards because like we've set the intention, the yes is then the power of that person's intention, and then it starts to form. And so we all have our intention starting to point towards these days and this experience. And yeah.
And then last time Keon had to like actually make a decision whether to miss out or totally scrap the plans and do it differently and stay up all night and drive through the dark and the weather and all the things. So yeah, it's powerful, brother. And another that was his birthday, so these birthday solstice, all these different dates and all the magic and numbers, and yeah, it's very cool how it feels to me like these things have already happened, and we're just like I don't know, it's hard to explain, but once I set the dates and once I start to I'm doing it from a place of listening, and it's just not linear. And so when you learn to be inside of that, you're able to just relax. Even as the supposed teacher, I'm just facilitating a process, based on a feeling that's already happened in a way. And that's what makes it so intuitive, and it's not based on a structure that's fear-based, or it's very in magical time. And the more we can hang out in magical time together, the more magical we become.
Yeah, and Joel and I have naturally separately moved towards it was like, oh, well, we want to do this intuitively. Maybe that was thought at some point. I don't even know that thought arrived, but more and more, and it just became more and more obvious that if we were to in guidance or facilitation, if we were to become that teacher, then there wouldn't be as much room for other, because then it would just be knowledge that we're passing on and our experience. But this type of work allows for all the pieces to be acknowledged in the field, because we are together, and each one of us is so powerfully magical and has so much to offer the world and inside this community. And it's been beautiful to witness that. But yeah, we don't have a form that we're like, I mean, there's bullet points for sure, but there's mostly just energy and communing with that energy once there's an intention. And so this kind of facilitation, and most of you know this, is not of the mind, right? So we're following feelings rather than a plan or an outline really of what we're going to do. I mean, when we go to cross over that, and it's like the retreat or the workshop's coming up, and I'm like, what do you think we're going to do? We're like, should we talk about it? It's like 48 hours till. But to me, even this wave of that, I was like, I'm just constantly reminded, because my mind will be like, I kind of want to know more. But then that would be cutting off the experience of like the energy that's coming in to build it. And so then there's a rising right before everyone comes, and then it's like it really starts to form and get clear. And then there's room for shifting what we think is going to happen in a day, or like, let's do this exercise, or we've brought up some ideas. Mostly it's like these ideas, of our experiences before, or adding something new. But then you arrive and you all add to the field, and that can shift in the middle of the day. I mean, the last retreat, I had this whole thing that I was like, this is so beautiful. I'm going to offer this. And everyone was so tired from Jules. It was such intensity, and the smoke that was happening, and the land, there were different elements involved. So everyone was just like, yes, we get to rest. And so most of it was very different than what I assumed. And we just kept saying, I think not that. I think this is what's happening for today. So it's really listening to the quality of what's arising in the field. Yeah, I just wanted to outline how our process is kind of before and after. Yeah.
It's why I like musicians that are improvisational, and they never play the same song the same way, and they're feeding off the crowd, and the crowd's feeding off the band, and this is all, we're doing this all together, and just expression work is in that respect. So
if it feels like we're winging it, we are.
Yeah, totally. As it should be. No, it's all good either way, but I really benefit from doing it this style, and as it changes, we'll be exploring different forms of structure and how to adapt. So
yeah.
Keon, brother.
Yeah.
Hey man. Good to see you.
Hey Keon.
Hey. Can you even see me okay? Internet's spotty over here too.
Yeah.
Says he's still muted.
Yeah,
we got you. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I know there are people in Northern California who are saying the same thing in the chat. But yeah, I just want to share some things real quick. Well, happy birthday, Dan. And yeah, their first retreat was on my birthday, August 31st.
Oh, you are breaking up a little bit. Oh, we lost Keon. There you are.
There you are.
Oh, I'm back. Are you here?
Yes.
There we go.
Of course. Goddamn. With Tico taking me out. No. Yeah, happy birthday, Dan. Like I said, if you heard this or not, but yeah, the first retreat was on my birthday, and I'll make this real quick. As Joel alluded to, here in Arcata, our airport is so small, a fog bank rolled in and grounded all flights. There was no flights. There was no planes here. And so I drove 6 hours through the middle of the night to catch a flight in San Francisco at 5:55 in the AM, made it by 21 minutes to get to that retreat, because I knew it was my birthday, and I was like, this is it. Crazy revelations. I won't get into them now, but it was like I made a choice for self, and we're just, the path is there, and it was just amazing. So yeah, that's what that was. So yeah, happy birthday. And I'm tripping out too, because your last name's Fox, and I shared this last time, was I'm geeking out on animals and what we call their groups. So a group of fox, weird names, is a skulk, a leash, and an earth, which to me, I'm just like, because they always hide this shit in the words. I'm like, that's powerful. They tell us don't look at the fox, the jackal, the coyote, the hyena. And I'm like, no, I think we need to. There's probably some stuff we need to learn from them. And so anyway, and then your name's Dan, which is also all about water, the tribe of Dan, Danu. I mean, it just goes on and on. Joel and Rachel mentioned water messing up their place. The first retreat had fire and smoke. And I'm like, uh-oh, might get wind at the next one. There's gonna be a tornado or some shit. So I'm all these synchronicities. So we'll fly through these still because my internet goes out. And then Susan, you look like my mom. You have the same hat that my mom wears. You have this hippie, what I call it. She's a scientific witch, I call her, a hippie turned professional. She's also born and raised in the Bay. Well, I know you weren't born there, but Bay Area native. I mean, literally, it's hilarious. And her name's also Susan. So there's that. And the thing with, and then this led to the birds. I just saw this bird like a little while ago. I walk around Humboldt State University near my house here in Arcata, or Cal Poly Humboldt now. And there was this little bird by this sign. It was like perfectly placed, this dead bird, like someone put it there. I was like, well, this is weird. It was like a visitor sign, like, you know, you're walking through the campus and they have these little sign things. And then there was a flower right next to it. I was like, oh my God, like some cool little student put a flower right there. And I felt sad. I took a photo because it looked cool, but like, then I thought, well, wait, some little critter's going to come by, maybe a fox, a raccoon, because there's tons, there's redwood trees everywhere. It's in the schools in the forest, really. And then the next day it was gone. So I thought, oh, some critter had a dinner, you know? So my brain's going on all these modes, which led me to think about Janet and her thrift store dream, which actually is really powerful because I know you make your own clothes. So thrift stores to you are, I'm sure, really, really meaningful. And she has this really cool, fun, quirky, amazing style in her clothes that she makes. And thrift stores are, you know, we donate, we get rid of our old, it's someone else's now treasure. You can find the coolest stuff. It's recycling, upcycling. I mean, if you want to get, you can almost get a whole cosmic conversation on that alone. So that was cool. Oh, and then Rachel, when you mentioned dead birds, that's what made me think of that dead bird. But to the second you mentioned that, a bird chirped outside my window. Not one chirp before, not one chirp after. It was literally one chirp, and that was it. Um, so I'm having this whole thing. And then the last thing I'll leave with is I also mentioned this on our last call too, was someone was talking about, we're talking about admitting, you know, purging, getting this out of ourselves. And I said, well, admit sounds like emit. And I was like, well, you're admitting, like you're emitting, like you're getting out. And then later that day, I thought, emit backwards is time. So that's a trip. And I think we are going back in time. Like I think it's a reverse spiral, like trippy stuff. That's a whole nother conversation. It's like we're going backwards, forwards. So then if you reverse time, you're emitting. If all this is just purged out, whether God's spoken into existence, the big sang, as I call it, not the big bang, you know, sung into existence. It's like emitting, and then we're bringing it back. There's our thrift store. There's our whole thing. Anyway, that was a lot. That was hyper, but I want to get it out before I get cut off again. And I love y'all. And this community is amazing and connecting. I went to Music in Sky last year. I went to this other little legal summit in Reading that was by the Sacred Honor folks, if you see through Alpha Vedic, you know, Joel's workshop. I've been on each one of these calls. So, you know, keep connecting people. We need to keep reaching out to each other. And I'm also, oh, there's the last one. I'm also leaving my job, Susan. You mentioned that. I'm a little website by my name. I'm, you know, having a whole business and programs I'm developing. So yeah, I just want to honor everyone. And, you know, it's really powerful stuff. So yeah, I can keep going, but I'm going to cut myself off. So I'm an alcoholic, so I got to cut myself off right there, you know.
I love it, Keon,
Oh.
always. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you,
Thank you for
hon.
sharing, brother. And I'm so glad you brought that up. We wanted to honor your transition last community meeting, that you have the courage to walk away from your, you know, the known of the government job and move into the unknown. And, you know, you have a real gift of
Yes.
jab, and you have the ability to connect people. And I really look forward to seeing what comes from your what you're offering to the world. And just, yeah, I want to support you in that. So just thanks for showing up. And, you know, it takes
Thank
courage
you.
to put yourself
Yeah.
out there and take a leap of faith, and powerful stuff, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm in social services, so I've always given back to that demographic. I work with, you know, the ones kicked to the side all day long. And I actually just showed my mom another connection, my mom, my website and everything yesterday, or the other day, a few days ago, and she was all about it. We're going to make recordings. She's got a lot to say, a lot of traumas that she's healed from. So it's going to be a whole thing. So, but I really appreciate that, Joel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for however each one of us can find a way to be of service. It really is it's almost selfish because of how powerful of a support that comes in when you are inside of supporting others, and then you get supported, and we're flowing, and everything's connecting and magical, instead of, you know, wearing masks and hiding and not looking in people's eyes. Like we get to take these masks, these social masks off of our, you know, that are keeping us from really becoming just, you know, emotionally vulnerable and aware, and feel each other's stories and the richness in each person's life. It takes it's such a good feeling to do, but it's not an easy thing to do. And so I honor each person's steps towards deeper levels of connecting and authentic, becoming authentic. And we're in a magical time where, you know, I've always said one person one day will think of one thing that will change the way everyone does everything forever. We're all capable of contributing. It's through deep listening rather than copying other people. And that's where the journey is in that listening. So this is just such a magical way to talk about, or to be inside of that. Is just to hear from all of you. And so thank you all for sharing. We're profoundly moved. And that's what the magical passes are meant to do, is move your perception, move your assemblage point. And then the recapitulation moves it even further. And then the dreaming gates start becoming accessible, and then you start moving your perception even further. And with that comes a lot of emotional healing, because our chakra systems are designed to experience ecstatic connection. And because we've been conditioned at such a young age to just watch the TV or kind of hand our power over to something to entertain us, we lose our imagination and our creativity. And so we're here to offer a way to reclaim that. And it doesn't matter at what point in life you're at, you can always reclaim your youthful energy and reestablish this great pure affection that you experienced when you were just a little baby. And your perception can start to move like it used to when you were really young. And those imaginary friends will come back, and all kinds of cool things become accessible. So yeah, Susan, welcome. Oh, you're still muted.
I have a question.
Great.
Can you be in the dream and watching the dream at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's what's so trippy, is that we have two parts to us, a dreaming body and a physical body. And so part of Carlos's training was, his teacher would be like, look across the park at that guy sitting in the bench. Who is that? And he's like, what are you saying? What are you doing? But after a while, he was able to realize that was him. They had separated his dreaming body and took him somewhere else and showed him his physical body. And both were awake and having two separate conversations, unaware of those two. And so it gets really intense when you discover the multiplicity of your being. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, because sometimes it takes me days, weeks, and I'll hear stuff, but I think that's what was happening in that dream last night, is I was watching it, but I was also in it.
Yeah. Yes.
I just figured that out while we were in the class.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what this is for. We talk about this stuff, and then some of the things that we overlook are the most profound. And then we realize, or I'll have the most incredible dreams that I swear I will never forget. And then, I wake up the next day, they're gone. And then it's like years later before I get, this one.
Yeah.
To me. So the assemblage point is a funny, tricky thing. And people that think they're not having dreams, I don't think that's how it works. I think you're just moving your assemblage point really far, and you're not able to access them because it's so much further away from this normal reality that it feels like you're not dreaming. But I think there's a way to get to that inventory as well. So the Russian dreamers that I met recapitulated their whole lives, and then they went into all their dreams and recapitulated every dream they ever had, because they all just started coming back to them, like the Akashic records. It just was all of a sudden accessible. So it's really cool. Rebecca, hi.
Hey, that reminded me that I will go through my life and just have random dreams that I don't remember when I had them, but I'll have these really vivid recollections in a flash, just as I'm going about my random life.
Yes. Cool. Me too.
Yeah.
And it gets really intense. The deja vu, you start having dreams of the future, and then all of a sudden you're inside of the dream. It's really validating to understand that there's this way of tracking this stuff, and then we become more and more sensitive to it, and more inventory of the past feelings and our childhood start to flood up. Yeah.
I like throughout my whole life have had the like you dream something and then like as I'm dreaming, I have like my mind is thinking like, oh, that couldn't happen because of this reason. Like I'm not, that person isn't my boyfriend. And then like come like to the moment where it clicks into place and I remember the like what I was thinking in the dream as I was watching it, like all of it like happening all at once. And that's kind of happened throughout my life too.
Totally.
Yeah.
You've got a gift, and yeah, it's amazing how each one of us is different and what parts of the pieces of the puzzle that we have to how this all works. So we're all about not explaining it, but being open to it, that it's all mysterious and unexplainable. You know, like that, I think that's where the freedom lies, is in moving into the more magical side of it. And yeah, so thank you for adding that. Cool. All right, Douglas, hey.
Hey, so you mentioned assemblage point, and I remember reading. I've been reading. I just could you give a
Sure.
brief explanation of that?
Yeah, we're gonna close here in a minute, but we'll basically we have the physical body is inside of the toroidal field, this massive sphere that's more like an egg. Some people's are more circular, some more like egg shaped. And in the back of that field, in the left corner, is where the assemblage point is typically isolated to, and that's what makes us perceive this world as we see it. That assemblage point can move to different locations, and we still see the world, but in a different way. But that assemblage point could also shift outside of the cocoon or go below it. And that's how shamans shapeshift and turn into trees or werewolves, and it's very, very difficult to do. It's almost impossible, but it's not impossible. And so as we move into as the veil lifts, I think the assemblage point is going to be easier and easier to move. And we're going to start being able to do things that are in the realm of telepathy and magic and remote viewing and even biolocating. So the assemblage point allows one to jump timelines, go into different layers of the onion, go back in time, and or glimpse the future. All kinds of things. So it's just about getting it to be loose, but we don't want it so loose that you end up in a mental ward because you can't keep your world intact. This is very delicate work. It's a very deep listening. It's not about blasting yourself with power plants until you think you've done enough to be so expansive that you can't bring yourself back together. It's a lot of that going on. I highly recommend, just considering taking the slower path and yeah, just listening. I'm not saying people shouldn't use substances. It's just that there's another way. And once you realize that, you just start being a little bit more respectful of your energy body and the process. But the assemblage point is but Don Juan said that if we do not discover or remember the secrets of the assemblage point, that we will perish, because that's our magical, the most magical part of our being, is that we can travel. We're warrior travelers, and we've been convinced that there's nothing more to this world than here. And the only reason that we believe that or allow that to happen is because our assemblage point hasn't shifted to a place in which we could validate that there's more. So part of this journey is being able to discover the moreness, but then be able to come back and still function as other people. Because if you were to a lot of my friends get too altered, and then they cannot face the world, they've seen too much, and they're no longer able to do basic things. So it is a dangerous thing to move the assemblage point. We want to do it very respectfully and carefully. Thank you for asking. 2 hours, perfect timing. Wanted to keep it at that length so people will watch this on YouTube and benefit from seeing this magical coming together and sharing. It really, we're not the only ones inside of this. Other people are watching in nonlinear time. and being moved. So thank you for contributing. Much love to all of you.
Much love, everyone. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
good to see you. Good to be with you.
Happy solstice.
Yeah. Take care.
See you soon.
So much. You guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Happy solstice.
Happy solstice.
Hi.